My husband caught me texting his coworker at a red light. I tried to explain, but he did this. The sun blasted through my windshield as I sat at the intersection of Magnolia and Prescott, drumming my fingers impatiently against the steering wheel. Red lights in this town seemed to last forever. I glanced at the time on my dashboard, 2:17 p.m. Andrew would be in meetings until 4:30, which gave me plenty of time for what I had in mind. I reached for my phone and opened my messages. The little blue dot next to Jason's name gave me that familiar flutter in my stomach. I smiled to myself, remembering our conversation from yesterday at Andrew's company picnic. While Andrew had been busy grilling with the other husbands, Jason and I had found ourselves deep in conversation by the lake, laughing about the ridiculous office politics at Vertex Software where they both worked. Just checking if we're still on for coffee tomorrow to discuss that marketing idea, I typed, though both of us knew that wasn't all we'd be discussing. Andrew's completely swamped this week and wouldn't even notice if I disappeared for a few hours, lol. I hit send and immediately started crafting another message. Besides, what he doesn't know 1. A sharp knock on my window made me jump so violently I dropped my phone between my legs. I whipped my head to the left and felt my stomach plummet through the driver's seat. Andrew stood there, his face absolutely expressionless, a look I'd never seen before. He was supposed to be at work. He was supposed to be in meetings all afternoon. He was not supposed to be standing outside my car at this intersection. I frantically scrambled to pick up my phone and shoved it into my purse, jamming my thumb against the window button. Andrew, what are you doing here? I tried to keep my voice light, but it came out strained and high-pitched. The light turned green behind him, and angry honks erupted from the cars behind me. Pull over, he said flatly. There's a parking lot on the right. I nodded, my heart hammering so hard I could barely focus on driving. I thought, this isn't happening. This cannot be happening right now. My palms were so sweaty they slipped on the wheel as I pulled into the half-empty lot of Riverdale Plaza. Andrew walked slowly across the parking lot, his movements stiff and mechanical. I watched him in my rearview mirror, my mind racing for explanations. I grabbed my purse, checking to make sure my phone was safely tucked away, screen locked. When he reached my window, I had already prepared my excuse. That was nothing, I blurted out before he could speak. Jason and I were just discussing some marketing ideas for the company. You know how I've been saying Vertex could use some fresh perspectives on their social media strategy. I thought maybe I could help out, surprise you with some ideas. Andrew stared at me for what felt like eternity. His blue eyes, usually warm and crinkled at the corners when he looked at me, were cold and distant. Get out of the car, Vanessa, he said quietly. Andrew, seriously, you're overreacting. It was just... I saw the messages. Vanessa? All of them. Not just today's. I felt the blood drain from my face. My mind flipped through the dozens of texts Jason and I had exchanged over the past few weeks. Nothing had happened physically between us, not yet, but our messages had grown increasingly flirtatious, filled with inside jokes and thinly veiled suggestions. Can we please just go home and talk about this? I pleaded, glancing around the parking lot. An elderly couple was loading groceries into their trunk a few spaces away, occasionally glancing in our direction. No, Andrew said simply. I think we're done talking. I thought, he's bluffing. He always forgives me. He needs me. I stepped out of the car, trying to reach for his arm, but he backed away as if my touch would burn him. Andrew, come on. It's not what you think. Jason's just fun to talk to. You've been so busy with work lately, and I've been bored. It didn't mean anything. His expression didn't change. Did you know I left work early to surprise you with lunch? I tracked your phone because I thought you'd be at home. I felt a stab of guilt but quickly pushed it aside. That's sweet, but you're making a huge deal out of nothing. If you hadn't been neglecting me for your precious job, maybe I wouldn't need to find attention elsewhere. The moment the words left my mouth, I regretted them. Andrew's face finally registered an emotion. Pain, quickly replaced by resolution. I'm going to ask you something, and I want an honest answer, he said, his voice steady despite the muscle twitching in his jaw. If I hadn't caught you today, where would this have gone? I opened my mouth to lie, but something in his eyes stopped me. I shrugged instead. Nothing was going to happen. It was just texting. Right, he said, nodding slowly. Just like last year with your gym trainer was just coffee, and that guy from your art class was just networking. My defensive anger flared. Oh my God, are you seriously bringing that up again? You're being paranoid. This is exactly why I can't talk to you about anything. You twist everything. Andrew reached into his pocket and pulled out his car keys. I'll be staying at Dave's for a while. I've already packed some things. You're leaving? Over some stupid texts? I laughed incredulously, though panic was rising in my chest. That's real mature, Andrew. Running away instead of working through our problems. Our problems? He repeated, his voice finally betraying emotion, disbelief. Vanessa, you've been planning to meet another man behind my back. My coworker, someone I have to see every day. It was just coffee, I insisted, though we both knew it wouldn't have been. I've spent 3 years making excuses for your behavior. He continued as if I hadn't spoken, telling myself you were just friendly, just outgoing, convincing myself that the constant little betrayals were just misunderstandings. I felt tears forming, but held them back. Crying usually worked with Andrew, but something told me it wouldn't this time. I'll text you when I figured out next steps, he said, turning away. Next steps? I repeated, fear creeping into my voice. What does that mean? He stopped but didn't turn around. It means I'm done, Vanessa. I deserve better than this. I stood frozen in the parking lot as he walked to his car, got in, and drove away without looking back. I thought, he'll cool off. He always does. By tomorrow he'll be apologizing to me for overreacting. 3 days passed, with no word from Andrew. My calls went straight to voicemail. My texts showed as delivered, but remained unanswered. I drove past Dave's apartment twice, noting Andrew's car parked outside both times, but couldn't bring myself to knock on the door. I'm sitting on our patio furniture at sunset, nursing my 3rd glass of wine and scrolling through my phone. The silence of our normally bustling backyard feels oppressive. Not even the usual sounds of the neighbors' kids playing or dogs barking seems to penetrate my isolation. He's being ridiculous, I muttered to myself, opening Instagram and posting a carefree selfie with the caption, "Me time blessed." I think, let him see I'm doing just fine without him. My phone buzzes with a text and my heart leaps, but it's just Melissa, my self-appointed best friend from the neighborhood watch committee. Hey girl, haven't seen Andrew around lately. Everything okay? I type back quickly. He's on a business trip, all good. The lie comes easily, as it has with everyone who's asked over the past few days. I'm not ready to admit what's happening, not even to myself. Another glass of wine later, I decide to try calling Andrew again. This time, to my surprise, he picks up. What do you want, Vanessa? His voice sounds tired. I want you to come home so we can fix this, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. This is stupid. You're blowing everything out of proportion. There's a long pause before he speaks. I filed for separation yesterday. The words hit me like a physical blow. I nearly dropped my wine glass. You what? Without even talking to me first? I've tried talking to you for 3 years, he says quietly. You've never listened. This is about Jason, isn't it? I told you nothing happened. I've already blocked his number to prove it to you. No, this is about respect, about trust, about the fact that I can't remember the last time you treated me like someone who matters to you. I feel anger bubbling up, replacing the initial shock. So that's it? One little mistake and you're throwing away our marriage? One little. He stops himself, and I hear him take a deep breath. The papers will be delivered tomorrow. My lawyer will contact you. Lawyer? Andrew, come on. Goodbye, Vanessa. The call ends, and I stare at my phone in disbelief. This isn't how it's supposed to go. Andrew always forgives me. Always. I dial Melissa back, suddenly desperate for someone to validate my side of things. Oh my God, Mel, you won't believe what Andrew just did, I say when she answers. 20 minutes later, I'm sitting across from Melissa at Lakeview Park, the evening joggers and dog walkers providing background movement to our conversation. I've given her my carefully edited version of events. Andrew overreacting to an innocent conversation with his coworker, storming out, refusing to communicate, and now threatening divorce. I expect sympathy. Instead, Melissa looks uncomfortable. So you were texting Jason behind Andrew's back? She asks cautiously. It wasn't behind his back, I insist, making air quotes. It was just texting. Andrew acts like I was having an affair or something. Melissa takes a sip of her coffee, avoiding my eyes. Were you? Having an affair, I mean? No, I exclaim, then hesitate. I mean, not physically. We were just talking. About what? I feel my face flush. Just stuff, work stuff, mostly. Vanessa? Melissa's voice has a new edge to it. I've seen how you are with Jason at neighborhood gatherings, the way you touch his arm when you laugh, how you always seem to end up alone with him. I stare at her, betrayal coursing through me. Whose side are you on? I'm not on anyone's side, she says carefully. But I've also seen how much Andrew loves you, how hard he works, how he looks at you when you don't know he's watching. So this is my fault? I snap. Melissa sighs. Have you considered that maybe you've been taking Andrew for granted? I stand up abruptly, grabbing my purse. I don't need this from you too. I thought you were my friend. I am your friend, she says sadly. That's why I'm being honest with you. I walk away without another word, fuming at her betrayal. As I reach my car, I think, no one understands. They're all against me now. The separation papers arrive the next morning, delivered by a courier who looks about 12 and clearly has no idea he's handing me the end of my marriage in a manila envelope. I'm standing on our front porch, barefoot in my robe, holding the envelope like it might explode. The courier asks me to sign for it, and I scribble something illegible on his tablet before he hurries off to destroy someone else's life. I don't open it right away. Instead, I place it on the coffee table and pace around it like it's a wild animal that might attack. 3 hours and numerous Google searches for how to contest a separation later, I finally tear it open. The legal language swims before my eyes, but certain phrases stand out with terrible clarity. Irreconcilable differences. Equitable distribution of assets. No-fault dissolution. My phone pings with a text from a number I don't recognize. Miss Reynolds, this is Arthur Kleinman from Kleinman & Associates. I've been retained by Andrew Reynolds regarding your separation. Please contact my office at your earliest convenience to discuss next steps. I throw my phone across the room, watching with bitter satisfaction as it bounces off the sofa cushion. In that moment, I make a decision. I'll go to Dave's apartment and force Andrew to talk to me face to face. He can't hide behind lawyers and paperwork, not after 8 years together. I'm pulling into Dave's apartment complex 20 minutes later, rehearsing what I'll say. I'll be reasonable but firm. I'll remind Andrew of all we've built together, of the good times, of how silly this all is over some harmless texts. As I park, I spot Andrew immediately, loading boxes into his car. My heart skips. He's coming home. He's realized how ridiculous this all is. Then I see her. A woman I don't recognize is helping him, laughing at something he said. She's nothing special. Average height, brown hair pulled back in a ponytail, casual in jeans and a t-shirt. But the way Andrew smiles at her sends a jolt of pure rage through me. I slam my car door hard enough to make them both look up. Andrew's smile disappears instantly. Seriously? I demand, storming toward them. It's been less than a week, and you've already replaced me? The woman looks confused, glancing between Andrew and me. Vanessa, Andrew says calmly, this is Emma, Dave's sister. She's helping me move some things to my new apartment. New apartment? I repeat, momentarily derailed. What new apartment? I signed a 6-month lease yesterday, he says. Dave needs his space back. I laugh bitterly. Wow, you really had this all planned out, didn't you? Were you just looking for an excuse to leave? Emma shifts uncomfortably. I should go inside. No, stay, I say sharply. Well, I'd love to hear how long this has been going on. Andrew's jaw tightens. Emma, could you give us a minute? She nods and hurries inside, casting a sympathetic glance at Andrew that makes me want to scream. There's nothing going on with Emma, Andrew says once she's gone. She's just helping me move. Right, I say sarcastically. Just like I was just texting Jason? For the first time, I see real anger flash across Andrew's face. Don't do that. Don't try to justify what you did by accusing me of the same thing. I got the papers, I say, changing tactics. Is this really what you want? To throw away 8 years over a misunderstanding? Andrew runs a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it makes my throat tighten. It wasn't a misunderstanding, Vanessa. You knew exactly what you were doing. I made a mistake, I admit, finally trying honesty. I was bored and flattered by the attention. But nothing happened, and nothing was going to happen. This isn't just about Jason, Andrew says warily. It's about a pattern. It's about the way you talk about me to your friends, like I'm some burden you have to deal with. It's about the constant little lies and the fact that I never know which version of you I'm going to get from one day to the next. I step closer, reaching for his hand. I can change. We can go to counseling. He pulls his hand away gently but firmly. I've suggested counseling 4 times in the last 2 years. You always said we didn't need it. Well, I'm saying we need it now, I insist, desperation creeping into my voice. Andrew looks at me for a long moment. I see sadness in his eyes, but also something else, resolve. I'm sorry, Vanessa. My decision is made. You can't just decide this by yourself, I cry, tears finally breaking free. This is our marriage, not just yours. A marriage needs 2 people equally invested, he says quietly. For a long time now, it's just been me. I want to argue, to scream, to make him understand, but something in his calm certainty stops me. For the first time, I'm afraid he really means it. What about the house? I ask instead, my mind jumping to practical concerns. You can stay there until we figure out whether to sell it, or if one of us wants to buy the other out, he says, his tone businesslike now. My lawyer will be in touch about dividing assets. The impersonal nature of his words feels like a slap. So that's it? 8 years reduced to dividing assets? What did you expect, Vanessa? He asks, genuine curiosity in his voice. That you could betray my trust repeatedly and there would never be consequences? I have no answer for that. 2 weeks later, I'm sitting in the outdoor seating area of Bluebird Cafe, pushing my salad around my plate while my sister Jenna watches me with concern. You need to eat something, she says gently. I'm not hungry, I mutter, though I can't remember the last time I had a proper meal. My clothes are already hanging looser on my frame. Have you talked to Andrew at all? Jenna asks. I shake my head. Only through the lawyers. I stab a cucumber slice viciously. Did you know he's already changed his relationship status on Facebook to separated? Like he's announcing it to the world. Jenna reaches across the table and touches my hand. Ban, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. I look up wary. What? Was Jason the first, or were there others? I pull my hand away, offended. What kind of question is that? An honest one, Jenna says firmly. Because when I talked to Andrew. You talked to Andrew? I interrupt, feeling another betrayal. When? Last week. He called to make sure I knew what was happening, to explain his side. She holds up a hand as I start to protest. And before you get angry, yes, I listened to him. He's been my brother-in-law for 8 years. So you're on his side too, I say bitterly. Just like Melissa. Just like everyone. I'm on the side of truth, Jenna says. And Andrew told me about the gym trainer. And the art class guy. And your boss's nephew at last year's Christmas party. I feel my face flush hot with shame and anger. Nothing happened with any of them. We were just talking. Vanessa, Jenna's voice is firm but kind. You know it was more than that. The intent was there, even if the action wasn't. I look away, watching a couple at another table sharing a dessert, laughing at some private joke. I think, that used to be us. I never meant to hurt him, I say finally, my voice small. I know, Jenna says, but you did repeatedly, and Andrew deserves better. Her words echo Andrew's from the parking lot. I deserve better than this. For the first time, I allow myself to consider that he might be right. Do you think he'll ever forgive me? I ask, hating how pathetic I sound. Jenna sighs. I don't know, but I think you need to prepare yourself for the possibility that this time you've pushed him too far. A month passes. The separation proceeds with cold efficiency. Andrew and I communicate exclusively through our lawyers. I learn he's requested a transfer to his company's Seattle office, starting in 2 months. I'm standing in line at Westridge Shopping Center's food court, waiting to order a pretzel, when I spot Andrew across the mall. He's coming out of a bookstore, a shopping bag in one hand. He looks good. He's gotten a haircut, shorter than he used to wear it, and he seems to have lost weight. But it's more than that. He carries himself differently, with a confidence I don't remember seeing before. Without thinking, I abandon my place in line and walk toward him. He notices me when I'm about halfway there, his step faltering briefly before he continues walking, clearly hoping to avoid a confrontation. Andrew, I call, quickening my pace. He stops, his expression carefully neutral as I approach. Vanessa, how are you? The polite formality is worse than anger would have been. I start to say fine, but the lie sticks in my throat. I'm not great, actually. Something flickers in his eyes. Concern, maybe? A remnant of the man who always wanted to fix my problems. I'm sorry to hear that, he says, and I believe he means it. I heard about Seattle, I say. When were you going to tell me? My lawyer sent your lawyer the information last week, he says. It's relevant to the settlement since I'll be selling my share of the house. Again, that businesslike tone that makes me feel like a transaction being closed out. So you're really leaving, I say, stating the obvious. Yes, he says simply. We stand there awkwardly, surrounded by Saturday shoppers, the mall's ambient noise filling the silence between us. I've been seeing someone, he says finally, and my heart plummets to my stomach. Who? I manage to ask, though I'm not sure I want to know. A therapist, he clarifies, and the relief that floods me is quickly followed by confusion. You're in therapy? He nods. I needed to understand why I stayed in a situation that was making me unhappy for so long. Why I kept forgiving betrayals I shouldn't have forgiven. His words sting, but I can't deny their truth. I should have gone to therapy with you when you asked, I admit quietly. Yes, he agrees. You should have. Another silence falls between us. Andrew, I say, gathering my courage. Is there any chance, could we maybe try again? Start over somehow? He looks at me for a long moment, his expression softening slightly. For a heartbeat, I think he might say yes. No, he says finally, gently but firmly. I don't think so, Vanessa. Though I expected it, the rejection still hurts. Because you can't forgive me? Because I already have, he says, surprising me. Forgiveness isn't the issue anymore. It's that I've realized we want different things from life, from relationships. We always have. That's not true, I protest. We built a life together. We did, he acknowledges. But I was building a partnership, and you. He hesitates. And I what? I prompt, needing to hear it even if it hurts. And you were building a safety net, he finishes. Someone reliable who would always be there while you looked for excitement elsewhere. The accuracy of his assessment leaves me speechless. I have to go, he says, checking his watch. Take care of yourself, Vanessa. He walks away, and this time, I don't follow. 6 months after that day at the mall, I'm sitting on a bench at Parkside Gardens, watching ducks swim across the small pond. The divorce was finalized last week. Andrew is in Seattle now, starting his new life without me. I open Instagram out of habit, scrolling mindlessly until a photo stops my thumb. It's Andrew, tagged by a mutual friend who visited him in Seattle. He's standing on a hiking trail, mountains in the background, smiling broadly with his arm around a woman I don't recognize. The caption reads, "Great weekend catching up with these two. PNW living happy couple." I stare at the photo for a long time, taking in the genuine happiness on Andrew's face, the easy way he and this woman fit together. I notice he's wearing hiking boots, something I always teased him about wanting to try. My first instinct is jealousy, followed quickly by the urge to text him something cutting. But I pause, my finger hovering over the screen. He deserves to be happy, I say aloud to the ducks, who ignore me completely. And for the first time, I truly mean it. I think back to that day at the red light, how quickly everything unraveled from that one moment. How the foundations had been cracking long before that, hairline fractures I refused to acknowledge. I put my phone away without commenting on the photo. Some lessons come too late, but that doesn't mean they don't come at all. As I walk back to my car, my new car, smaller and more practical than the one I drove that day, I think about the conversation I had with my therapist yesterday. Regret is useful only if it leads to change, she told me. Otherwise, it's just another form of self-indulgence. The words had stung, but like so many painful truths these past months, they were necessary. I reach my car and pause, looking back at the peaceful park scene. A young couple sits on the bench I just vacated, their heads bent close together in conversation. I wonder what promises they're making to each other, what mistakes they'll avoid or repeat. I get into my car and start the engine. At the intersection, I wait for the light to change, my phone safely tucked away in my purse. When the light turns green, I drive forward into whatever comes next, alone, but finally honest with myself about why. The red light that changed everything taught me the hardest lesson. Sometimes the person you hurt most isn't the one you lose, it's the one you see in the mirror every day.